In this ultimate survival challenge, Stafford, a survival enthusiast, decided to test his limits by living alone on a deserted island for 60 days. The goal was not just survival but to prove that he could overcome all challenges without any external tools or help. No clothes, no food, and no equipment. Stafford only had a camera to document his journey. Before setting out, Stafford thoroughly prepared, including a health check with his doctor to ensure his body could withstand such a harsh test. Once everything was set, he embarked on the journey, hoping to prove himself as one of the world's best survivalists. Upon arriving on the island, Stafford's first task was to find water. The human body can survive 21 days without food, but only 3 days without water, so finding a fresh water source became his top priority. On the island, he found plenty of coconut trees. However, instead of picking the mature coconuts from the beach, he decided to climb the trees to get the young coconuts, which contain sweeter and more plentiful water. Every day, he drank coconut water to sustain himself, but it was only a temporary solution. In addition to finding water, Stafford also faced the problem of food scarcity. In the early days, he survived mainly by eating raw shellfish that he found on the shore. However, each shellfish provided very few calories, so he realized that relying solely on them would quickly drain his energy. On the third day, while searching for water, he discovered a freshwater stream flowing from a cliff. Although the water smelled strange, Stafford knew this was an important source. He found a way to filter the water so he could drink it safely. Not long after, he also found another valuable resource, a sea hibiscus plant. From the bark of this plant, he was able to create cordage to use as tools. He used the cordage to craft a protective garment, as the island's environment was extremely hot and sunny. Stafford also kept collecting driftwood and shells from the beach to improve his survival situation. On the fifth day, despite his best efforts, Stafford still hadn't succeeded in creating fire. He used dry moss and twigs to create a friction drill, but the cord he made from plants snapped when he tried to use it. Still, he didn't give up. He continued searching for alternative methods to create fire, as having fire would allow him to cook and enhance his chances of survival. By the sixth day, the water situation became critical. Although he still had coconut water, it wasn't enough to sustain him long term. Furthermore, eating raw shellfish every day was starting to take a toll on his stomach, and dehydration became more severe. He felt his body growing weaker and more exhausted. Despite this, his spirit remained unbroken. Stafford not only had to deal with hunger but also the loneliness of being on the island with no one else around. By the ninth day, he still hadn't found a new freshwater source. However, during a walk around the island, he discovered goat tracks, an animal that could provide a crucial food source. He began to hope that if he could hunt a goat, he wouldn't have to worry about food for the next few weeks. But for now, he didn't have the tools necessary for hunting, so his search for goats had to wait. With the ongoing scarcity of food, Stafford had to get creative to improve his diet. One day, he stumbled upon some taro roots on the ground. Although he couldn't cook them due to the lack of fire, he came up with an inventive way to prepare them. He sliced the roots thinly and dried them under the sun. A few hours later, he had crispy, dried taro chips, a refreshing and valuable source of calories. After a long period without fire, Stafford finally succeeded in starting his first fire. With fire, he could cook and brew tea, which brought some comfort to his body. Although his food supply was still quite limited, having fire improved the quality of life significantly. On the 13th day, after continuous effort, Stafford began to improve his living conditions. He built a new shelter on the opposite side of the island and continued his search for fresh water. Once again, he discovered a spring in the center of the island. After digging, he found clean water that would be enough to last for the following days. However, water scarcity remained a major concern, and he still hoped for rain to sustain him. As time went on, Stafford's life on the island became easier. He had more time to build structures and gather food from the sea. His meals became more varied, including crabs, fish, and other seafood. While his body was still depleted after months of limited protein, his mental resilience grew stronger. In the final days of the challenge, Stafford felt he had adjusted to life on the island. He no longer worried about food or water but continued to face challenges in building shelter. Nevertheless, he kept improving his skills and searching for new resources. Finally, after completing 60 days of survival, Stafford proved that he could not only survive but thrive in such extreme conditions. The experience taught him invaluable lessons about himself and the natural world. This journey brought him greater understanding of the strength of willpower and patience in life.